Good morning, good morning. This is Derick Braggs, and I am coming to you live. I'm outside in the backyard with another encouraging word while we're in the midst of this 50-day teaching. I wanted to, this morning, give you my testimony, and I hope that train is not too loud. While we are restricted, I think it's very important that we, still keep the faith, because and I've been saying that the purpose of this teaching of these 50 days is to strengthen your faith, increase your faith, give you the proper foundation for your faith. And what we will accomplish in these 50 days will go far beyond, this, the coronavirus restriction. Okay. So anyway, so this morning, like I said, I want to give you my testimony. The date was July 26, 2005, and I was driving a taxi, and I picked up three gentlemen in Metairie, Louisiana, from the airport, from near the airport, and it was a day that I had been really had been at work. I had been, out there driving. I hadn't really made any money that day, so that night, and I never drove at nighttime, but this particular night, I stayed out later because of the fact that I hadn't made any money that day. And so when I was getting ready to quit, I received I got dispatched to the airport. So the airport is like the big trip. So I got dispatched to the airport, went to the airport, and when I got almost to the airport, I had another call that was coming back into the city of New Orleans. So it's called a turnaround. So I had a turnaround. So this was going to give me a decent, day. So I picked up these three guys from near the airport, three black guys, teenagers. And, I'm the type of person that I'm always talking and I always engage people. So anyway, I picked them up, got in the car, and I asked them how they was doing, and it was like they didn't really want to talk, It's like, okay, so asked them where they're going. They said, we're going to Little Woods Elementary. Now, in New Orleans, if you're not familiar, whenever somebody says, a lot of times when they say I'm going to, it means near or around. So it wasn't anything suspicious that they said they was going to Little Woods Elementary. So anyway, and this is like I said, this is a decent trip because we're past actually. Well, never mind about that. Anyway, I started talking to them, and they didn't want to talk. So a red flag went off. That was one red flag, that they didn't want to talk. I noticed that we got off the interstate. We're on the interstate where there's no traffic lights. So imagine us exiting the interstate and we're on a service road, but we get to the next exit. And so when they did that, I'm like, okay, that was kind of strange because you're already paying for this trip. So why would you get off the interstate to go through the traffic lights if you was actually going to that exit? Okay, because I didn't really know where, like I said, I didn't know exactly where they were going. So they were giving me directions. So when they did this, okay, it was another red flag. And I had this funny feeling that I've never really felt before. So I picked up the phone, I called my sister Shawan, and I'm talking to Shawan, and I'm telling her all of the information that I can tell her about these three guys that's in town, as if she's asking me the question. So I'm giving her all the information. Three black guys, we're going by, where are we going? And it was like going by Little Woods Elementary. And so I'm like trying to get her to at least hear their voice just in case if something strange happens. So anyway, after I started talking to Shawan, I'm telling them, you know, three guys, where we were going, where we came from, you know, and I'm telling her, I said, you know, you're awfully nosy, because I'm trying to, you know, just let her know what's going on. And she picked up that something was wrong. So anyway, once I started talking to Shawan, all of a sudden I don't really have that uncomfortable feeling anymore. So I continue to drive, and they're giving me directions and stuff. So all of a sudden, one of them in the back says, no, they told me to make a left onto a street. The street was McKenzie in New Orleans East. So I made a left onto the street, and when I made a left on it, now all of a sudden that feeling came back, but it was more than it was before. And I'm not really a person that's scary or that's afraid. So, you know, it was kind of like uncomfortable for me. However, when I got that feeling, it's like I felt like I was in a movie or something, because everything around me like slowed up, and I didn't really see house. I just saw like just like a streak of light. And so at first I didn't want them to know that I was afraid. I didn't want them to get off or see that I was afraid. And I remember praying, and I said a quick prayer, and I said, you know, God, don't let them kill me. And once I said that, one of them, a voice from the back says, right here. And when he said right here, I noticed that there was nothing around. There was nothing around me. So now the fear has it's like real intense. And I wanted to say at this point, y'all have a nice night. Because I'm looking around and I know pretty much I'm in the middle of nowhere. So as I was getting ready to tell them have a nice night, I didn't even, when I slowed down, I didn't even get a chance to put the car in park. And the one that was behind me attacked me. And so as I'm fighting him, trying to fight him, because he was behind me and I'm just swinging, trying to get him off me, I had a hold of him, and I tried to go left, and I hit the window. But when I was trying to turn around to face him, one of them just shot me. Pow. And it was like this, it was real loud. And I'm laid out across the front seat. And I'm it's kind of crazy because I felt the pain, I heard the bang, but I'm like in disbelief, and I remember, just like trying to figure out what was going on, but it was like I was unconscious, and I'm laying across the front seat, and the next thing I hear, I heard Shawan, because I was still on the phone with Shawan, and Shawan was screaming, Derick, 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 and I could just hear her, but it's like, to me, I'm unconscious, and God said, like, open your eyes. So I opened my eyes, and I could see, but I'm laying across the seat. He said, sit up. When I sat up, the car was still rolling up the street, because I never put it in park. And for some reason, I was kind of like confused. I was dazed and stuff, because I'm in shock, thinking that they couldn't have shot me, in the head. They couldn't have. And, I've been on crime scenes before, being from New Orleans, where people get shot in the head, and it's bad. So my military training was, okay, you always make sure that you're alert, you're in control. So I didn't want to look in the mirror and see, something. I didn't know how bad it was. I just knew that they had shot me in the back of the head. because I felt I had a headache, terrible headache. I felt the blood running down the back of my neck, and so I was I picked up the radio, and I was kind of confused between the dispatch radio and the cell phone because Shawan was still on the phone. And some kind of way I hung Shawan up, and I'm telling the operator, the dispatcher, that I've been shot, and they're saying, "Well, where are you?" And I'm saying, "I don't know where I am." And it's like, "Well, stay there. We're going to send somebody to you." And I was like, "Well, no, I'm gonna take my chance. I'll take my chance to drive into the hospital." And so I kept straight and made a left, made another left. Then all of a sudden I knew where I was. And the whole time I'm because even though I pretty much I grew up in church, I wasn't where I am now spiritually, either faith-wise. But what I begin to do is everything that I had ever heard, I begin to like remind God of like what he said, that he would never leave me nor forsake me, and that he's always with me, and I just begin to tell God, and so I was driving and all of a sudden I went to the hospital in New Orleans East, and the dispatcher had let them know that I was driving because nobody knew how bad it was, that I was trying to drive myself to the hospital. And by this time, Shawan had called me back, and I'm telling her that I'm going to the hospital. And I pull up at the hospital, and my shirt and stuff is covered in blood, and at the time I had a little fro, and I run into the emergency room and I tell them that I've been shot, and they're looking at me as if they seen a ghost. And they're telling me, like, go in the room. Well, just go in the room. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. They shot me. They shot me. And they said, yeah, go in the room. And so, I'm panicking. I'm in the room, and it's like the nurses, it's like the staff, they're like passing by, and like everybody's peeking at me, and I'm saying, I need help. I need somebody to help me. And so the doctor came, and the doctor was like, he said, tell me what happened. And I told him, hey, they, started fighting, and one of them shot me in the back of the head. And so the doctor says, are you sure they shot you? They couldn't have shot, maybe the bullet grazed you. I say, well, I don't know. I just know that, I have this headache, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, we're going to get you a CAT scan. But he's talking to me as if he doesn't believe what I'm saying. So when I go do the CAT scan, the doctor come back and he's asking me again. He said, wait a minute. Tell me what happened again. And you can tell that he's trying to rationalize what has happened. And I told him, he's like, okay, so by you fighting, your adrenaline built up. And that's what happened. Your adrenaline built up, and it caused the bullet to ricochet. And he said that, has your mom ever said that you had a hard head? I said, yeah. He said, well, you better believe it. And he pulls out the CAT scan, and he shows me the bullet. They shot me in the back of the head, and he shows me that the bullet is like here. But it is lodged, it hit my skull, and it ricocheted, and it was lodged in between my scalp and my skull. And I could remember, him trying to, downplay it. And I'm saying that, really, in that moment, I'm like, God doesn't have to make sense. I know medically, they want to say that, okay, that couldn't have been what happened, and try to make sense of everything, but everything doesn't make sense. And I begin to tell God that, that because of what he did for me, that I would serve him. And my life changed. And all of a sudden, and I'm going to tell you this, we understand what happens in the street. And I had everything. And let me just tell you, I did my own investigation. I found out who it was. You know, one of the guys that was in my taxi. I'm working with the detectives, and if you understand the street, you know what happens in the street. You understand retaliation. I had every opportunity to revenge what happened to me, and I'm going to tell you that when I saw my children, my kids came to the hospital and saw me, nothing else really mattered. I wasn't upset with these guys anymore, and I started to realize what was actually important. And just like the other day, I talked about all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. And it's like them shooting me is what caused me to have the relationship or set the ball rolling for the relationship that I have now with God. And I just wanted to share my testimony with you, because our testimonies provides hope. You know, because like I said, serving God doesn't exclude you from life. It doesn't exclude you from what's going on in life, from the wicked, from the evil, anything. It's just all serving God does is assures you of the promise that God has given you. You know that everything is going to be all right, in the promise of eternal life. So, like I said, I just wanted to share, my testimony with you. And until tomorrow, just remember that, that no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation, that God is always in control. And you have to let him be in control and surrender your will to him. And everything gonna be all right. Just know that everything is gonna be all right. And you know what? Let me say this. When I'm not gonna say that. Just know that God is in control. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.